in your home. So are parents on site of the children that are there, or do the parents, like the parents of the children that are coming to a playgroup, do they leave? Okay, I wasn't sure. There are some playgroups that they're on site, just either in another room, or they're having their own thing going on. So I wanted to double check on that. And is it every day that you do it? Okay. This is my contact information in the county. I'm working in the city on Mondays only currently for the same Office of Child Care, it's just a different region. Right now, they're in transition because they're short a regional manager and they're short a supervisor. So I did just apply for the regional manager's position, and I'm hoping we'll see what happens. So this, I'm going to give, I do have business cards too, if you, so you don't have to kind of go crazy trying to write it down. So basically, who needs to be registered? The whole process of being registered and the whole point of being registered is truly to protect the health, safety, and welfare of children. That is our mission, that is our goal. It's to provide parents with a safe alternative for childcare. If they can't afford a nanny, because it just tends to be pricier, this is why we were created. Too many children were being subjected to unsafe conditions for daycare, or babysitting as they used to call it. So that is truly why this office was created in 1988. And basically it's care given to a child in place of parental care in a residence other than the child's home for less than 24 hours a day. And I share this with, this is our orientation session, so it does remind people that unregistered care is illegal. Now, if you are doing care for your family members, nieces, nephews, blood relatives, not my sister's cousin's wife's aunt, child, daughter, but literally your blood relatives, then you do not need to be registered. That is not illegal for you to do that.
But everybody has to be in blood relative.
Correct. If you are doing it for less than 2 hours, 2 times a week, then you do not need to be registered. If you are not getting paid, you're doing it because you want your own children to be socialized, or you're doing it as a homeschool type activity where several homeschools get together to do it and you're not being paid, then you also do not need to be registered. It's any one of those 3 kind of scenarios. Benefits of being registered, obviously you get to work from home. There are provider grants. There is child care subsidy. Now, to be in child care subsidy, you have to be in Excels, but it doesn't take much more to be in Excels. Excels is the quality rating program, and they basically work off of us. Once we license you, we tell them, and we actually send you a flyer with the new license, and we tell them that you're now licensed, and you basically, there's 5 criteria. You have to be licensed, have a contract, have a daily schedule, and I can't remember the other 2 offhand because it's not really part of what I do. But it's not much more than what is required to be licensed.
Is Excel still through Office of Child Care?
Yes, it is through the Office of Child Care. It's just, it's under the big umbrella, but we're kind of equal. We do have a caseworker in our office that does all of the, and actually we have a city worker in our office that does Excels too. So I have both at my disposal. There is a Baltimore County Family Daycare Association that holds monthly meetings that you can be a part of and earn continued training hours. And they do things like, tomorrow, Wednesday night, everyone has to be re-fingerprinted that was previously printed. And the Family Daycare Association is conveniently having a mobile unit on site of their meeting to be convenient for everyone to get printed. So they do little things like that to kind of help family providers who would normally be stuck in the house all day and can't get out to be fingerprinted. There is credentialing, and that basically pays you for your training or reimburses you to take training. There's, on your income taxes, you can write off a portion of your home, a portion of your BGE, a portion of your food, a portion of the materials and equipment that you purchase is also a tax deduction. And then there is the food program, and that basically, all you have to do is agree to serve nutritious meals and snacks based on the USDA guidelines, save your receipts, and you get reimbursed for the food products that you buy. depending on what meals and snacks you serve, how many a day, and how many hours you operate, you get a reimbursement for that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
The Baltimore County Family Daycare Association for the continuing learning, what's the benefit of doing that? Is that a requirement? Do
You
need
have to
certain-
do continued training once you're licensed every year. Now, our office does typically four roundtables a year, so you get 2 hours free if you come to those roundtables each time you come. And then sometimes we do other events like that, or you would just go to, like, the Family Association offers training, Child Care Linked, well, you guys.
We offer hundreds of hours a year here at CJE.
I have a question about the food program.
Yes.
So you have to lay out the money for the food yourself, they don't give it to you
Right.
ahead of time?
Right, but I mean, obviously the first time you do it, it's gonna be more, but once you get in the cycle and you just get your reimbursement check, I don't know whether they do it monthly or bi-weekly. I know the subsidy does it bi-weekly and you get a check every 2 weeks. And you're guaranteed the amount that it says, there's no guessing once you're in that cycle. It's just automatic. You do an invoice and you send it to them and then they send you your check. And that can be direct deposit as well. Okay, if you are in the city, I know the difference between the county and the city is that you do have to have a permit from use and occupancy. And the county requires a fire inspection, and we just get a pink sheet, but in the city, you actually get a permit from fire. But it's the same inspection, I don't know why they have that extra step. But
Can I ask you a question? Is all this information the same if your daycare's in your house versus like you're renting a facility and having it there?
When you say renting, in your home, you could only be licensed for up to 8 children.
Okay,
So if you are renting a space in a church or a private building, a commercial space,
what if you rent like a house?
technically, in order to qualify for a family child care registration certificate, you have to live in that.
Okay,
So if you are renting space, then you wouldn't qualify so much for family child care. You could possibly qualify for a center with a capacity of less than 20. And it would be slightly different. Some things are the same, some things are not.
Of daycare, so that large family?
Large families up to 12 or
And you
13.
can do that from your house?
You can do that from your house, yes.
what does that mean?
It basically, you still have to be a resident, and it's just another category. We used to have something called small centers in a home, and they really didn't have a set of regulations for them, they just followed center. So then we kind of decided too many people wanted to increase from the 8 to 13, so we needed to get rid of the small center and create a large family manual and opportunity, I guess, for lack of better terms. And so now we give a certificate called a large family childcare. And that's where you're in your home still, but you can have up to 13 children. Depending on your space, I have some programs, we're just getting ready to open one, that she wants 5 infants in a room by themselves and then 8 children in another room for like a preschool room. And then I have a program that has just one large space and they have 12 preschoolers. So you can kind of pick and choose, and you could technically change it. Say this year, my enrollment, I have more infants, so I'm gonna have 5 infants and 8 preschoolers, but next year I don't have any infants and I need to change it to preschool. As long as your space measures, you can kind of change it and modify it how you need to, based on what your enrollment is. I have 2 questions, Allison. and you.
Okay, so I have some questions on behalf of people who are not here that relate to this. So number one is, if you have a baby, as is the case for one of our current teachers, does that baby count as one of the,
No,
okay,
but we deduct them from their capacity.
Right, that's
So
what I mean.
if
So
you're in a
count for your-
family, you can be approved for 8, but we take away the number of your own children under the age of 6.
because it's still a body, it's still a child in your care. Okay, great. And then, my other question was, is licensing for a small center the same as licensing for the larger family center in terms of the requirements for the 8 versus the 13? Other than
They're kind of a hybrid of family and center,
okay,
is how we created the large family. So yes, they are, you technically meet all the family requirements, and then created a few center.
Okay,
Because family, we don't recognize people as staff when you do family, but when you have large family, you have to have staff.
right,
So we kind of pull that from the center and we kind of made a hybrid and combined both of them. Because you have to, you can't be by yourself with 13 children, especially when you're adding 5 infants in that mix. So it's a combination of both.
okay, and then one thing that just popped into my head too. When you give those numbers of children, is that at any given time or in the course of your program? So if I've got 8 in the morning and then 4 leave and another 4 come in, is that okay? And we're looking at
Yep.
in the confines of a time
You
period,
could,
okay?
you could technically have 100 children enrolled,
Right,
as long
They
as
switch
they
every
weren't all
hour.
there at the same time.
right, okay,
And we
great.
have, I mean, we do offer, you can do evening care, there is 24-hour care where you could have children overnight, so.
Hi.
So there might be a round of 3 sets of children, and then you would have 24 children total, depending on the hours. Or the days, you could have 2 on Tuesday, Thursday, and 3 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, different schedules.
Yeah, what does the ratio change depending on the age of the kids?
Yes.
So for under 2, what's the ratio?
It's, well, if you're doing large family, it would be 1 to 3. If you're just doing a standard 8 children in your home, you can have 2 babies by yourself with 6 partners. We do offer something called an additional adult with 3 and 4 infant approval. So you could be approved for up to 4 infants and 4 preschoolers, but you would need to have an approved additional adult. And they don't have to do everything you do, but they do have to do some of the same things you do.
What's the ratio for 3 or 4?
Anything under 2 for a large family is 1 to 3, and then 2 through 5 is 1 to 10. And then once you hit school agers, it's 1 to 15, but you couldn't have 15 because the fire marshal restricts us at 13, so.
And does Baltimore County, you're saying Baltimore County does not require use of occupancy?
If you want more than 4, like if you want more than 5 or more infants, then yes, we have to get the use and out, for that. But if you're just doing a straight 8, no, we do not need use of occupancy for county, yes.
For the large family daycare, so let's say they measure 35, whatever it is, so that can be combined with 3 different rooms, it doesn't have to be one large room?
Well, it would depend on how you want to use each room. If you want infants in one room, then that room would solely be for that room. And then if you want a preschool room, but if you were floating around, then yes, we would look at that differently. So it depends on how you're utilizing your space. There are application forms, and this is just kind of the summary, I break it down as we go. There's an application, I talked about criminal background clearances, there's a notarized release, and that basically allows us to check for child protective service history, medical reports, and this is actually changing. You need a medical for all residents, and soon you have to have at least one substitute to be able to come in an emergency situation. If a child needs to go 911, more than likely you're the one that's going to want to go if the parent can't get there. So you're going to need at least a sub that can say, or can be there and cover for you if you go, for example, 911. You don't have to use the sub if you never want to, if you just want to go to the doctor's on your own and close or whatever, but we require that you have one sub. And substitutes after, it's probably going to be March 1st that the new regs come into play. They will then be required to have a substitute. A medical form, I'm sorry. Substitutes will be required to have a medical. Provider information and plan of operation. This is just a form you fill in to give us insight about your home, because when we get the paperwork, we haven't seen it yet. So it just asks you what elementary schools are in your area. So we kind of get a sense of the neighborhood where you are. Are there any bodies of water, so that we kind of know when we come out what we're expecting? What are we going to be looking at? How many pets do you have? Because we do have some specialists who are terrified of snakes and rabbits and this, and so it just kind of lets us know. We actually have somebody who's allergic to cats, so they can't have any providers with cats, so we just kind of want to have an idea of what to expect when we're going to come out. It's better than for us to know ahead than to send somebody to the hospital with an asthma attack. Daily schedule, what is your, and I'm sure you already have one based on what you're doing. You're just sharing it with us now, so we can put it in the file. Emergency escape plan, the initial training requirements, and that is basically your application packet. So this is pretty much what the application looks like, basic information, residents, one is under 18, one is over 18, and that's so we know how many releases to send you, how many fingerprint cards to send you, and just who basically is going to be in the home. Some questions that ask if you've ever been registered before, did you have any enforcement actions while you were registered, and any criminal charges. It's better if someone has information about skeletons in their closet, it's better to kind of be upfront with us, so that before we get to that point and we're getting the fingerprints and we're like, well, did she not tell us the truth? Is she misrepresenting things? Or does she really not know? Because if it's somebody just living in your home, you may not know. And then just signature on date, signature and date. Criminal background clearances are required for all adult residents and substitutes. That reg is going into effect March-ish, but I put it on here because if you take some time to think about this, and then say in February you decide, okay, I'm going to apply. Once we get your application and before you get licensed, that reg will go into effect, and so then you'll have to meet it. So that's why I threw that in there, so that you know it's coming. I didn't want it to kind of be a surprise.
I have a question, I'm sorry, I hope
That's
it
okay.
wasn't asked already. So what about if you like suddenly just have to find the substitute and you find someone brand new that you never used before?
You would just send in the notarized release, well, now they need a medical and they have to be fingerprinted. But you can add and change as you go. Unfortunately, you can't use them until we've received all that information. So you would want to be on top of it and just send in the paperwork. And you kind of missed the beginning part where I talked about the whole, that's okay, no, I'm not criticizing, but the whole purpose of us, our agency, is just to protect the health and safety of children. You would be surprised, I do the criminal background checks in Baltimore County, so I unfortunately get the pleasure of reading everyone's, because we have to investigate what the charge was and what the disposition was and if they're at a risk for children being in the home. And you would be surprised how many people actually have charges. 90% of them make no difference, and I just write cleared on it and move it along, and they're fine, and nothing comes of it. But you just never know who, people can make changes in their life and have difficult times, and you would never think that they would have done something. Release of information, it's completed by all residents, adult residents and substitutes, and it is notarized. You can't see it, but down here there's a stamp for a notary. And it's just basic information, name, date of birth, social security number. And we don't share this information with anyone, it's locked up in a file once we receive the information and it's cleared. Medical report, that's pretty much how it looks. Do make sure they sign and date. It does have a section, maybe they're gonna remove it, it does have a section for tuberculosis screening, but that is only if your doctor requires you to have it. Typically, they'll ask you if you've traveled, if you've been exposed to someone, and if they want you to have it, then it's required. We do not require you to have it.
Is that the medical report for us?
Yes. Okay, the substitute form, basically, it might change a little bit because we have to take that first statement out, but it's just their information, who they're substituting for. They answer 3 questions. I'm at least 18. I've read the family daycare regulations, which we know they're all not gonna do, because it's a book that thick, but you should kind of orient them to how they should be changing diapers and all that good stuff. I agree to be ready to substitute during childcare hours, and that's really it. That's all we're asking from them. This is the plan of operation I talked about, what days you want to operate, kind of hours. And it's 6 to 6, evenings are 6 to midnight. So you don't necessarily have to say, I'm gonna be open 8 to 5. We approve you from 6 to 6. So you operate and set your contract within those confines. Meals, snacks, what you plan on providing, none. So parents, you can still require parents to send if that's how you work your program. You don't have to become licensed and then change your whole thing. We work with you to offer what you wanna offer. We're just really doing the health, safety piece of it. Local schools, outdoor areas, types of pets. As I said, it's really basic information. Emergency escape plan, you get two of these. One you wanna draw, you kinda wanna sketch your space. You can do it one of two ways. I've seen people who send in really intricate drawings and they have the first floor here and the second floor here, and it's really like measured out with a ruler. And then we have the ones that are like, the lines go like this and it's living room, dining room. It's up to you. Some people cut and paste their floor plan that they get from like their rental office. So we're not picky, we're not critiquing your artistic skills. It's just to give us an idea of what rooms you're gonna use. And then we do ask you to make a second copy to post in, so parents know, your substitute knows how you plan on leaving in an emergency. What exits are available? Because they don't live in your home like you do, so they may not know. The training requirements. There is a 24-hour pre-service training requirement. It's broken down into 6 4-hour sessions. Or if you have the 90-hour preschool equivalent, then you can send that as well. So you may have done, if you did the 90 hours in high school as part of a trade class, you can submit that if you got the 90-hour certificate. If you did it for college credits, that's fine, or if you just did it for, at a community college but not credit, that's fine as well. It makes a difference to us how you came about, but we will accept that. There is an emergency preparedness training.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry, my brother just passed away, so everything's upside down. Sorry. So, it's like a week and a half ago. So the 24-hour pre-service training, how do we do that?
There's a few training sources, I'm actually gonna get to them. There's one online called carecourses.com. And that you can do it one of two ways. If you're not big on the computer screen, I hate having to stare at a computer screen. So you can order a book that will come with a quiz. You read the information, you fill out the quiz, you mail the quiz back, and they will mail you a certificate. Very simple. The other one is you can follow along the computer and do the actual computer course, e-learning type session. Or you can go in person. The community colleges offer it. You can take it at BCCC, in the county, the city, Howard County, it makes no difference to us. You can go to like Child Care Links, Baltimore City Child Care Resource Center, Howard County Resource Center. All of those typically offer the 90 hours.
We do too here.
They offer it here too.
Is there any sort of expiration time?
The 90 hours never expires. It's kind of like a college course. They can never take it away from you as long as you take it with an approved trainer.
What about the care course?
The care courses, they're only good for for the initial training. So it's kind of once and done. Once you take it, you only need it the one time.
Okay, doesn't
No.
matter when you apply.
You wanna ask?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, no, you're fine. Yep,
Like we were
no, that's good.
discussing that when you were.
So the emergency preparedness training, I want to say it's a 6-hour training, so it is a little lengthy, but it talks about what you do with tornadoes, hurricanes, like the 9/11 situation. Now, I'll forewarn you. They tell you have to spend all this money on this elaborate kit of 20 gallons of water and all this nonsense. Don't buy the kit. We do not check the kit. We don't. I don't want to say that. I want to say we don't care about the kit, but I don't want to say that. We do not expect you to spend all that money and replace it every year because it expires. You have to take the training and you have to devise a plan. That is what we look for, and that's what the regulations say.
But you're in the county, if the city.
The city's the
comes
same
and
way. It's the
they
same
don't ask
regs.
for your kit?
They should not be. It is not a requirement of the regulations. And if they do, then you can request a review of findings. That's my other pep talk for you guys. When your specialist comes out, don't be afraid to question.
It's so different in New York.
Well,
In New York, if you question them, they give you a fine just for questioning.
we don't charge
It's not
fines.
fine, but I
We
don't
don't
think
charge
they
fines.
like you if you question them.
It shouldn't be a matter of like or dislike. They are only allowed to violate you and require you to follow the regulations. So if they're telling you that something, and you don't have to just say, well, can you show me that reg? I'd really like to be able to read it myself and get a full understanding of what you're telling me.
And then they're not gonna come every week and check on you.
Believe
How
me,
often do they generally come out?
once a year. We really do not have time, I promise you. Yeah, I promise you, we do not have time. I'm helping in the city because they have licenses that are from 2012. Now, I'm not gonna say they didn't have inspections every year, they get them once a year. But the processing piece of it, so if they don't have time to do that, believe me, they don't have extra time to visit you every week, I swear. I promise you that. And I mean, I'm managing 13 people and running pretty much the Baltimore County office by myself and working in the city on Mondays. It's trickles down, all of us are so overwhelmed. And I don't wanna say that.
Thank you for
to
giving
sound-
us your time.
Oh, you're
to do
welcome.
this. We really
Well,
appreciate it.
it's important, and I
Thank you.
don't want you all to be afraid of us, because there are some of us who are not very nice when they come out, I will give you that. But don't let them bully you. Call me, if anything else, call me and I'll figure out how to get the message where it needs to go, without throwing you under the bus, I promise you that. Now that I'm working in the city on Mondays and I'm in the county.
What's your phone number?
I'm gonna give my business right now.
She said she'll give us, but 1 second, so the 13 children is a large family,
Yes.
and that's a 1 to 10 ratio.
It depends on your ages, yeah. For preschoolers, yes, it's a 1 to 10 ratio.
Okay.
Now, what if you want to open like a daycare center in your?
There's a different process than this, and it's a little more extensive, but you can learn about all of them. This will count if you want to do family childcare. If you wanted to go above and beyond that for large family center, all of them are offered online for free. You go to marylandpublicschools.org and you could do the center, you could do the large family, you could do Baltimore cities. If you're in the city, I would recommend you do the cities if you're in the city, because I only know of everything, all the regs are the same and all the forms are the same. But like the UNO process, the permit process, those are a little different. I'm so new down there. I mean, I've only been doing this since October 16th, working there on Monday. So I asked around about it and got enough information to present today, but I don't know everything. I'm still working on that part. But all the regulations are the same place to place, so they should not, if they ask you for your kit, you could say, well, in Baltimore County, I know the regulations are only for the training and the plan, and here's my plan. So, and I know, I have some in my office that I've had to go back and say, you can't give a violation for that, and make them change their inspection. So I do know it happens, but don't let them bully you. And you can accept it while they're there, and then call the supervisor, and they will change it. Because it's not fair. I've been on both sides of the table. I was a director for 10 years, and that should not be happening. And that's kind of why I do some of what I do, because I don't ever want people to feel like they're afraid of their specialist. We should be a resource to you, not a fear factor. It really should be that way. And I know, believe me, I know, because I have a few in my office. I have 2 that came from the city, and I know, I have to deal with that, and I do it on a case-by-case basis, and we can move along. And they don't, truly on the other side of it, they might grumble about it, well, that's not what I think, and I'm like, well, that's not what the reg says. And then they just move on. They really don't give it a second thought later on. We just have too much to kind of focus on to harbor that. So SIDS training is another one online. I think it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's really not that long. Age-appropriate first aid and CPR. If you take this online, you have to take the one that offers the in-person skills test. We do not accept just online first aid and CPR. You have to do the hybrid where you go in person and take the skills test. Yes.
What if we get, because I get certified by the Red Cross or whatever.
Then you should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should.
and I have the card, so.
Yeah, you would just send copies of your cards, you should be
Okay.
fine.
How do we take the first aid and CPR online?
You can take it, I'm trying to think who offers it online. I always went to paramedical personnel, I can't remember who offers it online. There's a couple out there that do, but as I said, they're not gonna be approved and you're gonna waste your money. When you call, I think American Pro, maybe, is online, but make sure, as I said, that they do the skills test in person, because otherwise you've wasted your
Does
money.
everybody on the staff need to have all of these things?
No, the provider or if you're doing family childcare, only the provider has to have these. If you're doing like large family, the first aid and CPR are based on a ratio. So it's 1, I believe 1 to 20. So if you are on 13 or less, right, only one person needs it. But you have to make sure that they're there during all operating hours. So if they're your opener and say they come at 6 and leave at 3, then you're gonna need somebody to have it that works 3 till all the children go. So, but typically, no, it's just one person that has it. Medication administration training, that is another training that it's one of those one person per all operating hours. So because then that person is the only person that should be giving medication because they've had this training. The American Disabilities Act training, it's a 3-hour training, and that just talks about including children with special needs. And then supporting breastfeeding training literally is a half-an-hour training. I think it's a waste, but it's required.
Is that only for certain age or for doing?
It's only if you're doing under 2, yes. This is coming, it's out now and you can take it now, but it's not gonna be required until spring of 2018. And this is free online. The end of each month, you go to marylandpublicschools.org, you register for it, they call it a cohort, you register for it the last few days of the month, and then you take it the first 2 of the following month. So registration for November was, I think, the 22nd through the 28th, and then you start it December 1st and have to finish by December 15th. And it'll keep cycling like that. So the end of December, you can go online, register for it, it's free. And even if you don't decide to become licensed, I recommend you take it, because it's not just about regulations, it's also about best practices with children. And it's free, it's not gonna cost you anything to do it.
What's the website?
It's marylandpublicschools.org.
Sorry, what if we have ADA training and we have a certificate from somewhere else?
It has to be one of the approved sources, so if you've
Okay.
taken anything like that, send it though, so we can
Okay.
check, and then they'll let you know if it's not approved.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any questions
I
about the
find
training?
Maryland is very strict with approving other cities, like New York. There's a lot of people who have,
In New York, there's like a training every month.
no, but there's a lot of people who have, I don't know, masters in special ed, nursery, and they're not approved in Maryland.
I know they really focus on colleges and not so much independent trainers, which I don't understand why, but one could be just as good as the other. I mean, you can, well, and the person, I know the person, having done it once myself to be approved as a trainer, when I worked at Kitty Academy, you have to jump through hoops, and that's probably why they don't.
I just
Get
find it
approval.
so hard to.
Yeah, you have to submit tons of, basically your entire curriculum. I mean, I sent a packet this thing, it was ridiculous. I don't always agree with everything that happens, but.
But not everybody, you're just one person, and you're only in the city once a week.
For now,
Uh,
that may change in a month or 2.